We heard it again and again inside of 13 Reasons Why. Different characters at different points in the show would say, Hannah's truth is not my truth. So what is truth? And is it really truth that we're talking about, or could it potentially be perception? You see, truth is absolute. There is one factual account of what actually occurred inside of an event, inside of a conversation, inside of a day. There's historical factual events, like we all recognize and agree a lot of historical points, and we would say that those are true because they are facts. But inside of 13 Reasons Why, more often the characters, when they were talking about truth, they're really just talking about perception. So you can actually have two different perceptions. You could have 13 different perceptions. One of the opening lines of the show was, there are 13 sides to every story. That goes back to how we're all viewing the world, how we're seeing things through our own emotional state, our own past experiences, and how that colors our current conversations. See, it could be true if you were to say Hannah's perception was not my perception. Sure. Why does all of that matter? Because I think we need to understand inside of our own relationships, inside of our own lives, that we're tangling with perceptions. I think that's where we got hurt a lot of times, is we didn't quite see it the same way that somebody else did. Maybe someone didn't back us because their perception was it wasn't a big deal. Maybe they just didn't understand. Truth, however, will always stay firm, will always be the same. Now, I happen to believe for myself, and for everybody really, but I know I live my life understanding that truth has to come from somewhere. So I know that like relativistic truth, or this idea of, well, you can have your truth and I can have mine and it's all good, that exists inside of our culture, but I don't believe it, because there can only be one actual account of events that occurred. If we start saying, well, maybe it was this person's truth or that person's truth, we actually are breaking down order, and order is important. And I believe that order ultimately does come from God, that He's the one who's able to say, this is the way it is, these are the real things that have happened, and that when we get closer to Him, we can understand and have that security that I think we're looking for inside of truth, to know and to really rely on what had actually happened in life. Now, does that mean that even if we believe that God set the world in order and that there's perfect order and that He is truth and that He can show us what truth is, does that mean that we always understand somebody else's perception? No. You really have to lead in with a lot of care and kindness and a willingness to put yourself and your own perception aside in order to seek the true or actual state of events that happened in between personal relationships. So truth can be messy, but I don't actually think it's truth that is messy. I think it's perception that is. And I know a lot of us get really hurt because the lens with which we're viewing the world varies from person to person. There's one actual state of events that happened, but we all view it differently. And that gets messy, that gets hard. How do you overcome it? Seek to understand before being understood. Why is that helpful? Because it's almost as if saying, seek to learn somebody else's perception before you make accusations or judgment calls based on your own perception. It takes a lot more time. It's harder to build relationships by seeking to see how somebody else saw the world. But it's very helpful. And in a lot of these messy relationships that we have, it's going to be a guiding hand in your life if you're seeking to understand somebody else's perception. What is truth? It is absolute. There's only one actual state of events that occurred. What is perception? That's the question. Seeking to answer it is actually going to bring you to maturity and help you out a lot in life.